Episode 2. Discipline, respect, boundaries. These are things that every father is responsible for teaching. But let's be clear, discipline is not about punishment. It's about guiding your child to make the right decisions, even when you're not there. According to UNICEF, children raised in father-absent homes are 2 to 3 times more likely to experience behavioral issues. Without fathers setting clear boundaries, these children often struggle with understanding the importance of rules and respect. Fathers are critical in teaching discipline and respect. Research from the Journal of Marriage and Family shows that children who have consistent discipline from their fathers are 50% less likely to engage in delinquent behaviors. South African Institute of Race Relation also supports this and says that children from fatherless homes are 3 times more likely to face school suspensions due to behavioral issues, because these children often struggle with understanding the importance of boundaries, which lead to the problems with authority later in life. Consider Nelson Mandela. Even while he was imprisoned, he found ways to discipline himself and to guide his children, often through the letters that he was able to send out to them. If you have read the book and the autobiography of Nelson Mandela, you'll understand some of the limitations that he had in prison. But his daughter Zinzi has said that her father taught her values like empathy, respect, and resilience. This is while all the time not having physical access to her and being able to raise her in a normal childhood home. But he was able to do so and instill these values from far, far away with very constricted limitation. It wasn't just about laying down the law, it was about teaching. Mandela's story shows us that even when a father can't be physically present, his influence can still be felt through love and wisdom. And so if you're such a father who finds yourself distant from your kids, physically or otherwise, please, I hope that you take hope from this and that you hear that even like Mandela, you are able to also keep making a difference in your children's lives. Because brothers, discipline doesn't need to come from a place of anger. This is one thing that I learned very early on from my wife. In fact, we do not discipline out of a place of anger. We are not there to punish our kids. We are there to teach them, to guide them, to correct in a loving manner. All of it needs to come from love. The rules you set should teach your children to understand the why behind the rules and not just have rules for rules' sake. It is my belief that each person needs to learn discipline before they can learn anything else. Think about it. If you are going to earn yourself a matric certificate or graduate from high school or university or find a job, whatever the case may be, you must first learn to submit yourself to the discipline, for example, of attending school, the discipline of study, the discipline of focus, the discipline of writing exams, before you're able to earn that freedom and that right of that certificate that you need. If you're going to master anything in life, it comes with first learning to discipline oneself towards that outcome that you want. So children too must first learn to obey instructions. I always say to my kids at a young age that there are steps to how they progress and grow in life. Once they grow up and learn to be responsible and they take on that responsibility, then it comes with the privileges that align with that responsibility. But if they do not want to take the responsibility, we've got to resort back to more rudimentary ways of raising them, which are more appropriate to younger kids or babies even. Sometimes we resort to instructions rather than guidance. But these instructions are important to set in the very early stages of your child's life and set that as a base before you can teach them to understand these things and of course then to apply them and counsel them later. Before we can be taught about the reasons behind instructions, we must first learn to obey them. Or let me put it another way, if perhaps this touches you in your studio, before children can be taught about the reasons behind your instructions, they must first be taught to obey the instruction. Think, for example, if you're crossing a road with your child, you know to look right, left, right again before you cross the street. Or perhaps how the traffic light works. If your child is not willing to obey your instruction when you tell them to stop before crossing the road, the consequences can be life-altering. So it is not first about them understanding why they should look left or right, left and right, or when they should go and when they should not, because it's not appropriate, first of all, for a young child anyway, to be crossing the street by themselves. But if they understand obedience and they obey, they can be taught these things later in life. So it's up to you and I to instruct them in this way that they must go. The big question is, how do we as fathers instruct them if we ourselves do not know which is the right way to go? Fathers, brothers, men, we need to be consistent. Kids respect clear rules, but rules that are fair and rules that are predictable. In fact, I'm convinced that they need them. When rules are clear, when rules are fair, when rules are predictable, it gives them a strong sense of security and a great environment for them then to explore and to learn about their environment. I trust that you will take this to heart. Give me some comments in the chat. Let's hear what you think of this content, what your learnings are, what your wisdom is. Subscribe, hit the notification button. We will see you again in episode 3, where we're talking about how fathers can transition from discipline to teaching their kids about life's lessons. Because being a father isn't just about enforcing rules. It's about preparing your children for the world. I'll see you next Thursday. Cheers.